We have Bitcoin up top. We have others dominance down below. So just so you guys understand the context of the market, this is not a crypto specific dump, and we're not even really dumping right now. We're just at the range lows. So this isn't crypto specific. Understand that everything is down right now. So if you look at SPX is down 0.64%. The top 100 is down 1.13%. Gold's down 1%, right? The VIX is up 4%, which is actually not necessarily good for the S&P. And then DXY, Dixie, which is the US dollar index, is also up 0.22%. So in the context of overall markets, everything is selling off right now. It's not a crypto specific thing. So that's number one, why you shouldn't be freaked out by the fact that price is moving down right now. It's not a crypto specific thing. The reason that price is moving down in the SPX and all markets across the world is because the US dollar is showing strength right now. Okay. So as the US dollar gains value, so if we go, I'm going to a little sneak preview of that chart, but the US dollar is fucking chatting right now. It just decided since September, October of 24 to just fucking be straight up only. And so if the US dollar is maintaining value and actually gaining value, that means assets priced against the US dollar are becoming less valuable, right? Because all we're doing is pair trading. So anything divided by US dollar is just a pair trade. It's Bitcoin denominated in US dollars. If the US dollar becomes more valuable in the denominator of the fraction, then that means that the overall fraction is going to be smaller, right? If you divide a number by a larger number down below, it's a smaller number, okay, for you math gurus out there. All right. So as the US dollar is becoming stronger, that means yields on bonds are also becoming stronger. Therefore, there's an incentive, there's an arbitrage opportunity for people to take their money out of risk assets and put them into bonds and earn yield off of bonds. That's not good for our precious meme coins, for our precious digital currency. We don't want the US dollar going up. We don't want the bond, US bond yield to be going up, okay? So once we start topping out on the USD, I mean, look at this, bro. This thing's fucking chatting, right? So as long as we can get close to a top on the US dollar and that starts to tank once Trump gets in office and starts spending money, then you're going to start to see risk assets start to rally again. So that's the context. I just want to provide the context of the overall markets, what's going on. It's not crypto specific. This is all markets selling off because the US dollar is getting stronger, yields are getting stronger, and yields off of bonds are getting stronger, and there's going to be less rate cuts this year than initially anticipated. Therefore, initially what was priced into the market, there's going to be less rate cuts this year, so they also sold off because of that. Okay, so that's the context in which the markets are operating within. It's not a crypto-specific sell-off. Okay, so I'm going to set the stage for you here, Logan, then you can talk about this a little bit. So right now what we're looking at is Bitcoin price history up top, and then the others dominance chart down below. So others dominance is effectively, you can literally look at it right here, it's crypto total market cap excluding the top 10 dominance. Okay, so others dominance is basically the total market cap of crypto subtracted by the top 10 assets in crypto. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, USDT, USDC, XRP. The top 10 assets in crypto market cap removed, whatever you're left with is others dominance. So that means what percentage of crypto is dominated by these assets. Okay, if that makes sense for you guys in the stream. So Logan was making a good point about this and how the price behaved, but if you want to go ahead and start making your point, Logan, on why this is significant, how the price on others dominance was behaving during the last bull run compared to what we could be seeing now.
Yeah, sure. So obviously we were talking about it all last year, saying that January is typically the time where Ethereum starts to outperform Bitcoin. And it's typically the time where alt season truly begins. And obviously we haven't seen that yet this January. And I would just wanted to make sure that everyone is kind of on the same page, knowing that January, it's not the time of the year exactly. Obviously, crypto is very cyclical, but the time of the year isn't really the best indicator of when alt season is going to begin. It's obviously it's going to depend on how the bottom chart, which is others dominance, which is basically altcoins. You're taking out the top 10 largest market cap coins in crypto. How they're going to perform, it depends on what Bitcoin does. So last year, or not last year, last cycle, January of 2021, you guys can see on the top, Bitcoin at the beginning of the year in 2021 had its first, this is the daily chart, so it had its first high time frame correction after going into price discovery. So Bitcoin, it was pumping. You guys can see down on the bottom, altcoins had continued to bleed up until that point against Bitcoin. And then it had put in a bottom right around the beginning of January. So even though Bitcoin was still pumping, altcoins were also pumping with it, and they had put in a bottom against Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. Then, Bitcoin, it has its first high time frame correction. And if you look back at altcoins during that time, whenever Bitcoin started bleeding from where he has marked out right now on January 8th, altcoins got absolutely eviscerated. They bled 60%. So, but if you look at the bottom, the altcoins had put in a bottom already against Bitcoin. So Bitcoin goes through its correction. I'm not sure if you want to put in the price change up at the top as far as how much Bitcoin actually pulled back right there.
Yeah.
But I know it was more than 30%.
So from the top right here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 30%.
Yeah. So Bitcoin experienced a 30% pullback, which, right now we just pulled back from 108 to about 90,000. So still not even a 30% pullback, not even 20%.
Yeah, like 15, 16%. So half of what we pulled back last bull run.
Yeah. So we pulled back 15% or 30% at this point on Bitcoin. Altcoins got eviscerated. And then once Bitcoin finally broke out of that correction and started to pump again, that's when alt season officially began. And then you guys can see altcoins outperformed Bitcoin for the next 6 months. So all the way through May, towards the end of May, which is when Priyama was just saying we're expecting to sell. That's how long altcoins were outperforming Bitcoin, the whole time that Bitcoin had corrected itself and then just kind of ranged into price discovery.
Yep.
So that's what we're waiting for. It doesn't really matter how far Bitcoin pulls down right now. I mean, even if Bitcoin pulls down to previous all-time highs, which I don't think is going to happen. Most people don't think that that's going to happen. It's not going to pull back to like 72, 73,000. I don't foresee that happening. But even if it did, it doesn't really matter because it's not going to, alt season's not going to begin based off of this data until Bitcoin recovers, goes back into price discovery and starts pumping again. And then after that, it doesn't matter what Bitcoin does. Alt season's already going to begin and it's going to have the green light to start outperforming. And then we're going to get that outperformance more than likely until sometime in May. We're going to sell. We're going to go back into the summer months, reaccumulate at the lows, and then ideally expect another pump towards the beginning of the year, sometime like October, November, ride that final pump and then disappear for the next 3 years.
So. Exactly. And then, go into hiding. So, yeah, and that's the context in which we're trading, and that's why people get so emotional in the lower time frames, and this is what market makers attempt to do, is they get retail investors, so people who don't understand really what's going on in the bigger picture and what the market mechanics are. They chop them to death, get them to sell early, capitulate, get frustrated, get upset because they're refreshing their portfolio every fucking day, and they just see their numbers going down and they think it's over, when in reality, it's just a local correction. Again, this last bull run, we had a 30% pullback. If we got a 30% pullback right now, just based off of how sentiment is, people would be jumping off of roofs, people would be jumping off balconies, they'd be jumping off bridges. I mean, bro, people are sick about this pullback, and it's half of what we got last cycle. So I can assure you, it's okay, but you got to understand there has been way worse, and we've still marked up substantially. So from this low, after this 30% correction in January of the last bull run, we then went up over a 2x. We went up 2.25x. Think about that. So we had a 30% correction, and then from that 30% correction, we went 122% to the upside, right?